It's recording now. Yep, it's recording now. Sick. Right, everyone, welcome today. Today we're going to be doing a tier list of all the RWBY villains. And joining me today is CT. You can find all of his stuff that he mostly works on in the description down below. I might put some during the video also. How are you doing, CT?
Hey everybody, how you been?
Sick. Okay, so we have different ranks for every single villain. We have the S rank, which is basically the most amazing villains and godlike ones. A would be pretty good villains. B would be decent villains. C is needed some work. And D is they were awful villains. And I also put a category that says they really weren't a villain, because there occasionally is someone there that we talk about probably won't actually be villains. Okay, so we're gonna start with Adam first. Adam Torres. This one's tough because freaking Volume 6 made it.
Well, there's a difference. You have to understand there's a difference between the character and them as a villain. While Adam's character definitely went down in the later volumes, I can definitely say his status as a villain didn't really shift that much, in my opinion.
I have to say, I would have technically put Adam as like the S tier area, but then when they came out with Volume 6, it slowly came down to my thing, but I still think he was a pretty good villain.
Yeah, he's definitely a pretty good. He was a pretty good villain. Like if they had kept his character the same as they had like in like Volume 3, then it would have absolutely put him at an S tier. But because of his character, they really just kind of dropped his character to like, you know, the wayside. It was like,
to be honest, I didn't even really like the fight between him versus Ian and Blake. I felt that was like a really boring fight, and it seemed like he wasn't really trying at all in that fight.
The stupid thing is, that was probably the best fight we had in that volume, and that just proves how bad the ending of Volume 6 was.
Yeah, it's actually really sad because Adam had so much potential, but
he had so much potential, like from the trailer and Volume 3, but 5 and 6, they kind of that was just Mercury.
Mercury's taking over his spot.
Yeah, as the well, we'll get to Mercury later.
Yeah. Okay, the Albanian Brothers are next.
And I think Corsac.
I think they were decent villains, in my opinion.
They were.
They had the mysterious concept of being a villain. They followed
but they were
orders.
in Volume 5, so
yeah,
they were in Volume 5, so no. They were. I'd say they were decent. They
were definitely not good villains. They were not pretty good villains. They were actually either decent villains or needed some work.
I feel like they kind of needed some work because there was like when they were in like the Belladonna house, like if they were trying to go, because they were like the White Fang representatives for Menagerie. So if they were still trying to like, you know, keep like the people's favor, why would they show up at the scene with the Belladonna at the Belladonna house? If I would personally, if I was them, just stay the fuck away from there so they wouldn't be, you know, really caught in you know, like they couldn't be pinned for that stuff,
or at least like slowly try to do like a rebellion kind of thing.
Yeah, but I feel decent for them. I feel they needed some work.
I agree with that. They did need some work. Okay, now to the most savage character ever, and the most ballsy one
you have ever been. It's a bloody migraine.
Low-key, he was an amazing villain.
Oh, he was great.
He's an amazing villain, honestly.
Watts knew his place as that he wasn't supposed to be like the he wasn't supposed to be like, you know, he wasn't like Tyrion or Cinder or Hazel who was a powerhouse, but he knew his role. He was smart, and he used that brain to his advantage.
Yeah, the most probably the only villain that could take out a whole kingdom by himself.
If he had like a proper setup, because that was a close fight against him in Ironwood. Let's be honest.
But he was smart too. He literally, in Volume 7,
Mm-hmm.
slowly took down the whole freaking Atlas
I
by
mean,
like turning off their heat and all
like
that
he
kind of stuff.
said, he was the designer for those codes. So at the same time, it's like,
Yeah, but he could probably, if he wasn't, he could probably still hack into him.
yeah,
He's a
absolutely.
pretty intelligent dude.
No, but yeah, I personal bias of Watts aside, I did find him to be a pretty great villain.
All right. Oh, you think he'd be a pretty good villain?
It's hard for me to.
In my opinion, I feel like he's an amazing villain.
He's. It's hard for me to say personally. Yeah, that moment when he's completely like absolutely tearing Cinder a new one for telling her where she fucked up. Because let's be
Mm-hmm.
honest, she needed that in her life. But he didn't have a lot of moments until 7 and 8, which I mean, it makes sense. They were in Atlas then, which would obviously make the most sense. But in that moment, though, he was pretty good. Yeah, I'll go with he's an amazing villain.
My opinion, the reason why I said amazing villains mostly because of what we've seen from him in Volume 7, taking
Yeah,
like his intellect, literally destroying Alice slowly.
yeah, that's true. I also did like his fight against Ironwood. That was like a
Mm-hmm.
very good fight.
I feel like he could have beat Ironwood if Ironwood didn't sacrifice his arm.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, time for honestly the character that doesn't deserve the full main powers.
She needs some work. She
She
needs some.
definitely needs some
She
work.
needs some work. She's not an awful villain, but she needs some work.
Like, holy shit. Like, does I'm pretty
She
even though Raven had more time with the maiden powers, she was so more complex on how to use them than Cinder. It was so annoying how
well,
lack of
yeah.
effort Cinder
Well,
used for
because
the maiden powers.
Cinder is well, I mean, granted, the problem with Cinder is that she sticks with fire way too much when she could
Mm-hmm.
use anything. She could literally do anything.
Yeah, the frustrating thing about it too, also in Volume 8, was when Penny got the Winter Maiden powers. She seemed to know more about how to use it than Cinder, and Cinder had a longer time to train with her maiden powers, which is why, honestly, she needs a lot of work.
She she has. I used to find her to be a very good villain back in like volume 1, 2, and 3 when she was this
Mm-hmm.
enigmatic like force of nature. It seemed like, but after volume 4, she was barely there. Volume 5, she was okay. I mean, it was volume 5, so can you really say anything was okay about that volume?
Yeah, I
But
agree with that.
but I feel like in 7 and 8, she's just dropped to just being there. Just she's also a very she'll also like after volume 3, she became a very one note character.
Mm-hmm.
Maiden power, me want Ruby die.
She's gonna be the same thing for Volume 9. I have
Oh, oh god, she will be. She absolutely will be, and I'm not happy about that unless
to be
Rooster Teeth.
honest, this is another thing that irritates me about Cinder. And if I get a bunch of crap about this, it's fine because this is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Cinder talks about like how she's gonna turn on Salem. Salem doesn't matter.
Oh, she
Salem's
did.
and then
Oh
when
my
Salem
god,
comes around, she turns into her bitch.
she does. Like I feel like Cinder always seems like she's like this close, like on the edge of just betraying Salem and completely not listening to her, but every single time she just crawls back. She goes against Salem every single time, but every time she comes back crawling and begging for forgiveness when she realized that she fucked up.
At least Hazel had the balls to freaking
Oh,
go through it.
we'll get the Hazel. We'll get the
Yeah.
Hazel.
Okay, this person, the person that
Cordovan.
really hasn't been a person that's easily forgotten.
She. The funny thing is, if you go on the RWBY fandom wiki, she's counted as one of the two major antagonists of Volume 6, alongside Adam. Like she and Adam are the main antagonists of Volume 6. It's like really.
Like honestly, in my opinion, when I saw Volume 6 and I saw her in there, she she was an okay villain to me. But I feel like this scenario, she
She's not.
definitely needed some work or she was an awful villain because I didn't get
Uh,
really the cons I didn't get the feelings thinking like, oh, she's a villain,
yeah,
that
she's.
kind of
I feel like
feeling.
she was just a bad villain. She was just a bad
Yeah,
villain.
I'm sorry. She needs to be in the awful villains category because
She
she
was
was
just
just
a.
bad. She shouldn't
She was a
even be in
bad
there.
villain.
She's kind of in the same area as the Grim Knight for me because like I still think that the Grim Knight there was no point of introducing her into the story, but
Mm.
that would be for another video.
We'll talk about tabletop. We'll talk about our own universe later.
Yeah. Okay. Elm is next.
Um, I did think that I'm gonna say this from the beginning. I did think all of the Aesops were pretty decent villains,
Mm-hmm.
and I say decent because when you get down to the nit and grit of it, they were just following orders.
Yeah.
But like in a consensus, I feel like most of the Aesops were decent villains.
Yeah. I do agree with Elm was a decent villain.
She was decent.
There's just one person on that they actually probably two since she was technically put on Aesop's. There's two people on Aesop's that I technically say that they weren't villains in my
I'm gonna say that
standpoint.
like even though like at the end of Volume 8, like things changed, like
Mm,
they were still villains. They were still antagonists.
yeah, I guess so. Okay,
Emerald.
Emerald is next.
Ooh,
Volume 8.
it's
She came,
volume.
we were correct on one of those
Yes, we
anti-hero
were.
stuff.
She's I feel
She
like
was a
I felt
decent
like she
villain.
was I feel like she was pretty good like early on, but then definitely dropped down to decent. I'm gonna keep her at as a villain. I feel like she is probably oh, I feel like she's probably it's hard to say in my opinion. Either like I did like her in like earlier volumes, but like recently before the events of Volume 8, she seemed very just one note dedication to Cinder, which was a little meh. It kind of watered down her character, but the problem is like the development we got with her character was when she was no longer a villain. So I can't really count that to her status as a villain. Because if I could count that, she'd be a pretty good villain. But based on what we left her off as a villain with, I feel like she was a decent villain.
Yes, I do agree with that. I don't think the reason why I don't think was a good villain is because, like I said, she just seemed like a side minor character towards what Cinder was. She really wasn't stand out
Yeah.
like Mercury and Cinder. She
Mm-hmm.
kind of was just there as the background person.
Mm.
So she definitely is a decent villain.
Yeah, she's
Next one is the God of Darkness.
the
This
God of
one's
Darkness.
actually tough.
I don't feel like, in my personal opinion, they aren't really they aren't really, in my opinion, a villain per se. Because I mean, because it's like yes, he created Grimm, but he did create Grimm, but he and the God of Light he and the God of Light work together to make humans.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really say like the God of Darkness is really a proper villain.
Yeah, the God of Darkness made the Grimm. He also made magic to give to the
Yeah.
humans. But the thing is, like, the only reason he made Grimm is because he was in more like a competition with his brother
Yeah, he
to
was in a
show like he's
competition.
the more powerful kind of person. So he technically he even tried to help Salem to bring back
Yeah,
Uzma.
he brought back
Ozma.
Ozma, but then like the moment he found it, like, oh, you came to me after you went to my brother. Well then, bye. He wasn't. I wouldn't say the God of Darkness is really a villain, despite what people probably think. I don't think he's a real villain.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
But to be
As much as
honest,
like, oh, God of Darkness, he's probably like, the most evil character of them all. I didn't see him as really an evil character. To be honest,
okay,
I feel
low
like
key,
maybe
I do hate that. I do hate that though. Just because he's called the God of Darkness, people think that he's a villain. It's the same thing with Hades for Greek mythology. It's
oh yeah, it's
super
absolutely the same thing
annoying.
with Hades. I
It's
feel like if you want my honest opinion, I feel like the God of Light was a bit more of a villain than the
yes,
God of Dark,
exactly.
because the God of Light cursed Salem with immortality first, so it was his fault. He then decided to stick Ozma in that endless cycle as like, hey, this is your problem now. Bye. He was the God of Light's a bit more of a villain than the God of Darkness.
No, trust me, I'm gonna be doing a video about this very soon, about saying how the God of Darkness and the God of Light's punishments are the most stupidest thing ever.
Oh, I will happily join you for a good old rant.
Yes, please join me on that, because I
I'll
had
happily
such a
join you.
better punishment to give Salem that could have prevented all
Oh
of
yeah.
this.
Oh yeah.
Like honestly.
But topic for another one.
Yep. Okay, next one is
Harriet.
Harriet. The
Oh,
most freaking annoying character ever.
she definitely annoyed me in volume 8, and I did say, oh, the Aesops were decent villains. Harriet is one where I feel like needed some work. Maybe a lot less of the whole zealotress towards Ironwood, which
Hmm.
that's, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, she, she was she was very weirdly zealotrous towards Ironwood, and any decision he made, she didn't do without any question whatsoever.
So
I
she was
mean,
basically a Cinder, another Cinder character.
a, a, the problem with Cinder is like Cinder, like I we it's for Cinder. Like the main reason I'm not a big fan of Cinder is like she she has done nothing more but fail, fail, and fail, and has even like on many different times shown like, oh, she's actively betraying Salem, like going against her wishes just to get what she wants, and yet she comes crawling back when she fails. It's like at least Harriet followed Ironwood's orders through and through, but her attitude towards like, oh, Ironwood's infallible, not what everything he's doing is right. It just kind of bogged her down from B to C. Like she definitely needed some work. If she wasn't like a goddamn paladin to Ironwood, I really felt like she would have been a much better character in Volume 8.
This is the thing I know about Harriet. Harriet showed more of the villain side out of the whole Aesop group.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is the only thing I actually enjoyed that they did with Harriet,
Mm-hmm.
where like when people with fast superpowers, fast semblances, they're always impatient.
Mm-hmm.
They did that for Harriet, and I actually enjoyed
Relatively,
that.
yeah.
Like she always
Yeah.
kept saying, "Let me go after him. Let me go after him. Let me go after
Yeah.
him." That made him impatient. And I actually liked how they did that. That's the only good compliment I'm giving Harriet. The rest was garbage.
Yeah. Harriet needed some work, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. She is literally on the close borderline of needed some work and awful villain.
Your opinion, but I felt like
Hmm.
like the problem with her character was definitely her zealotress towards Ironwood, which I was not a big fan of.
The only good scene with Harriet was when Crow crashed through the window and kicked her.
Oh, that was awesome. When like, oh, he's a bird, a blink, now it's Crow.
Oh man.
That was great. That was honestly a great scene. Hazel.
Hazel, my man.
Mm.
Do we even need to talk about Hazel? He needs to be an amazing villain. It's like, come
He was
on.
great. He had a very believable motivation for going to Salem, and with who his character was, his betrayal also made sense. Also, I love the fact that we learned like this guy, like Salem went to this guy. His first extinction was I'm a puncher, and you understand that he did damage that forced her to regenerate. The dude uses his fists. He punched her. That like the moment I heard, I was like, "How strong is this guy? How?" It was
Yes, he
just
beat
like
Salem up, beat the shit out of Salem multiple times. Like,
that.
come on.
That fight against Salem and Hazel was honestly wonderful. But like, oh, he was great. He was amazing.
Yes, he was. Honestly, like, even like he has the most memorable quotes of all time. He
No more
also has like
Gretchens,
the
boy.
best scenes ever
Oh, he
being as
was.
the villain, especially the first time he meets Oscar too.
Oh, he was great.
Like, I'm sad that Hazel was killed.
Oh yeah,
I'm hoping he's still alive and gets back in
no,
Volume 9, but it's
he's not.
extremely unlikely.
He's
You
not.
cannot survive a
As,
point blank
as
shot.
much as as much as I'd love it if Hazel miraculously survived, he's dead. He is sadly dead. Salem is currently left with Cinder, yay, Mercury, and Tyrion.
Yeah, Sam was losing all her forces, but she doesn't give a shit because she's like, I'm immortal.
She could probably find more people to manipulate, let's be honest.
Exactly.
How many circles has she probably been through when you think about it?
And no one trusts Osmond, so
Well, when Osmond, as much as people don't like Osmond for being a liar, that's a video for another time. But I can see why he withholds information. Honestly,
true.
Ilya. Okay,
Okay, Ilya.
Philia.
I think she was a pretty good villain. She wasn't the amazing villain. I just think she was a pretty good villain, especially how she got played into the story about basically, in my opinion, having a crush on Blake, being Blake's partner, and working with Blake.
It's I have a tough time thinking like she was either she was a pretty. I feel like she was more of a. I felt like she was a decent villain, if I want my honest opinion. Like she had good character. She had a pretty decent character. I just maybe I did like her character. She had a pretty decent character.
Yeah, the reason I put as pretty good villain because
I'm willing to hear you out.
She had the more of the mysterious kind of concept of being the villain. Like no one knew who she was until her mask was broken.
Actually, another thing, actually, you know what? I will change my opinion on a pretty good villain because she seemed like because one thing I did like about her is that she was a darker mirror of Blake.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's be honest, if Blake stuck around, I feel like Ilya is what Blake would have become.
And it also brings the thing about how it is technically Blake's fault.
Mm-hmm.
She could have even brought Ilya with her to Beacon Academy. And this could have honestly prevented.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I'll give her that she's a pretty good villain.
Okay, Ironwood.
Oh boy, this is gonna cause a war.
This is probably gonna cause a war, but my opinion, I think he was a pretty good villain. He was a pretty good villain or decent villain. Those are my two options for it.
I feel like the problem is RWBY never had that sort of like ultimatum villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm trying to like, as much as I mean, this is probably biased towards. I really did like Ironwood. Like from volume 2 to 7 onward, I liked Ironwood. I can see his descent into who he became in volume 8. I feel like it makes sense. The man is stubborn. His semblance helps show that he's stubborn. Like he believes that his way is the way that should be.
Yeah, his semblance didn't really help at all in Volume 8.
No, that was probably like one of the reasons why his villainy was going on. Another thing I did really liked about Ironwood was I'm losing my train of thought here for some reason. Give me a minute. I'll think about it. Why am I having a tough time thinking? It's come on, CT. Let's see, his character was. Oh, that's what it is. I figured out. Finding out that's. Think about how like think about what Atlas is. It's this shining, it was supposed to be the shining beacon of not only technology but military might. Probably the strongest kingdom in all of Revenant. Out of the 4 kingdoms, the most powerful, like technologically advanced, in huge active military. Finding out that Salem was going to be on that front doorstep. Picture picture the paranoia that went through that man.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, that's one thing I did like, was that there was obviously like not only his stubbornness but also insanity. Not insanity, paranoia. Was that paranoia was involved as well? I will say, and I also really did like the whole ultimatum villain that he became. Like, this is what I want. I am doing what is best.
And if you don't agree, then I'll kill you.
Yeah. So I did like Ironwood. Like overall, if I'm looking at Ironwood overall as a character from 2 through 8, as long as for the time we've known him, I would put him as amazing, but his tenure as a villain, he was a pretty good villain.
Pretty good villain.
And that's what we're looking at, is him as a villain, and he was a pretty good villain. People can argue with me in the comments. I liked Ironwood. I've been dealing with a lot of people that got pissed. I am sad that he died. I am sad that he's dead.
Well, didn't his thing say that he was
they changed
unknown?
it. He is dead. They changed it. He's dead.
Okay.
I am not happy about that.
There's that one emote that makes me think that he's still alive, but
he's not. If he is, I mean, then oh boy,
he's still gonna be dead. Even if that part is true, he's still gonna be dead.
He's dead. As much as I don't like that he's dead.
No one's gonna thaw him out, to be honest. Okay, Jock.
Oh boy. I like me schnees, but this schnee I do not. I like me my schnees, but this schnee I'm not a big fan of.
Oh man. He's like freaking Lucy's dad in Fairy Tale.
Yeah, but
worse.
Yeah, but worse. Lucy's dad had a bit of a redemption.
Sure.
I didn't. Jock did not. He
deserved what happened to him from Ironwood.
Not really, but but that's me. I don't feel like he really did, but I mean, he was not a good villain.
Oh yeah, he was an awful villain.
As much 100%. As I do love Jason Douglas's voice for him, which Jason Douglas is a great voice actor. That wasn't enough to really get me to like Jacques.
Okay, Junior. Yeah, the thing is, we haven't really seen that much of him. The only time we actually seen from him I would probably say he needed some work because, like, the only time I can remember him in RWBY was when Ye went into the club, and I don't know, he didn't really give me, because he's supposed to be like a mob boss. He didn't give me that vibe. He didn't really give me that, like, oh, he's a villain, should be someone not to mess with. So that's the reason why I think he needed some work.
Junior, yeah, probably could have needed some work.
Or like shown more or something like that, so we could see a little bit more of his villain concept.
Nah, he needed some work.
Okay, next one is White Fang Lieutenant.
Oh boy.
I think he was a decent villain. Especially for a person that doesn't literally talk or not shown that much.
Chainsaw Sword is pretty cool. The chainsaw blade was pretty cool. He
did beat Weiss. He did beat Weiss in a 1v1 fight.
Well, because the writers like to do Weiss dirty. People can fight me in the comments. I don't care. So I'll defend Weiss.
He has more. Technically, the White Fang Lieutenant did have more experience than Weiss during that time. But if they did have a rematch with Volume 8 Weiss, Volume 8 Weiss would kick freaking White Fang Lieutenant's ass. That's why they're never going to bring White Fang back into the story.
I mean, I get it, but like at the same time, it was just like, decent, needed some. I can't really. I'll give him a decent, but he's probably at the bottom of decent villain.
I agree with that. Okay, next one is Lionheart.
Bad, awful.
100% awful villain.
I didn't like Lionheart was a disappointment.
It was very disappointing, especially his weapon. His weapon was so dope.
Stalwart, yeah, that was a bad weapon.
He could have literally, honestly, had so much potential, but it was just another villain RTH kind of just like threw off the side.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is Marrow.
Marrow.
This one's tough.
Okay, the problem is I can't say that they really weren't a villain. I can't say Marrow wasn't really a villain. Like, I can't really say that. Like, he did, like, actively go against, like... He did actively go against RWBY and her group. Like, he did... So, he was a proper villain in that sense. He was a proper antagonist.
Well, when you think about it, though, during that time, he was the only one in that group that really didn't want to fight them.
No, that's true. But at the same time, it's like... It wasn't until Ironwood went too far that he eventually broke. He was, however, just that moment, like, even though there was doubt with him, he was still a villain. He was still an antagonist. That's the point about him. I can't really say that he wasn't really a villain because he was a proper antagonist. But just due to his character conflict, I think that he was probably the best Aesop villain. He was pretty good. My opinion, of course.
Looking at his stuff, I would say like he's the most highest rank in the Aesop's team for villain. I think he was a decent villain. I don't think he was a good villain. I don't think he was amazing villain. I just think he was a decent villain, in my opinion. And he was a way better decent villain than Elm.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
Okay, the Malachite sisters definitely needed some work because we never really seen that much from them.
The trailer villains are, those two trailer villains are definitely like, we could have seen more of them, but I wouldn't say they were bad. They did the job that they were supposed to do.
But so you think that they should be decent villains then?
I mean, I'm not saying they're decent. I'm not. They did their job, and they did their job well enough. But I mean, we haven't seen much of them, so
Yeah, okay. Now to our boy, Mercury.
Mercury. He's
He
pretty
was
good.
I would say, a good villain.
He's pretty good. I do like Mercury. He's stuck with Uncle Tyrion.
Uncle Tyrion.
Stuck with crazy Uncle Tyrion.
Just the panic look in his eyes when he went in the aircraft, like, save me.
Just because he's with Tyrion. Do you think you wouldn't be concerned if you're going into an aircraft with Tyrion alone?
Be like, can I request the trade?
Can I trade? Can I get my own airship?
Yeah, definitely. Mercury was definitely one of the pretty good villains. One of the top ones too.
So,
okay, now to this person that probably only seen for like one, basically
Little
one
Miss
scene.
Macalite. She wasn't really a villain, if you want my honest opinion.
Really? Because wasn't she also a mob boss?
Yes, she is, but in my opinion, like she wasn't really a villain. Like in my opinion, like I don't feel like she was properly a villain. Like if we look at all the other characters we have on like the villainy tier, like they've all like purposefully imposed against our main group, which is what I'm mainly going off of. Like that makes me think if they are really if they are or aren't a villain. What she did wasn't really in opposition of our main group.
Yeah, the only scene shown from her was like her letting Neo fight Cinder and then throwing him out.
Yeah, she wasn't much of a villain. She really wasn't much of a villain.
I agree with that. Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Neo. Amazing villain. Amazing villain. Definitely amazing villain. You can't change my mind. She was an amazing villain.
So I cannot change his mind, folks.
She was an amazing villain.
Neo's character is great. I'll give you that. She is a great character, despite not speaking. She has great moments with the character. She is a surprisingly good character, despite being mute.
Yeah, and now she does this whole thing where she now is probably gonna try to kill Cinder and RWBY. Yay!
Probably. I feel like she's probably gonna. It's probably gonna go for Cinder. Let's be honest, but
yeah. I feel like once I finish Cinder, then I'm coming after you. But actually, it's probably gonna be like RWBY in Volume 9 explaining to Neo that it was actually Cinder that killed Torchwick.
It was Torchwick's fault for gloating. Let's be honest. But Torchwick was
it was part of Cinder's plan also, so technically it was actually Cinder's fault. But yeah, she definitely is an amazing villain. She's not one of the top ones, but she is an amazing villain.
All right, okay. I think I could be here all day and like I wouldn't change your mind, but
yeah, that's gonna be like it. It's a good thing we don't have Face here too, because he would definitely be on my side. Be both screaming at you, be like, "It's an amazing villain."
I mean, she's an amazing character. She's a pretty good villain, but I'm not gonna fight a battle I can't win.
Okay, next one is Raven.
Oh, Raven. Raven's a good villain. I feel like Raven's a good villain.
A pretty good villain. Definitely one of the tops.
Yeah. She like
I should have made an anti-hero one on this one because she's definitely an anti-hero.
Well, now she is definitely, but like in Volume 5, she was definitely one of the main antagonists.
And she's definitely like honestly showed her villain side, but also showed her caring side too. Which is why Raven's one of my favorite characters in RWBY.
I do like her as a character. Like she's definitely a good similar to what Ilya is to Blake, like a dark mirror. Well, she was. I do like how Raven's a dark mirror of Crow. Like
Older sister.
Like, let's think of this. Crow wants to be with the people he likes, the people he loves and values, but his semblance makes that difficult. Well, Raven can literally be with anyone she wants at the swing of a sword, but she chooses not to. I do like that little symbolism there and the mirrorment that they have.
Yeah. Okay, next one. The most intelligent RWBY character. Salem. Godlike. Top. Well, no question about it.
I see no reason why, yes, she's the main villain, and obviously I feel like a main villain's good, but she is a very complex character, and she is legitimately terrifying, and I love that.
Because her original plan on taking down Atlas was the start of her taking down Beacon and starting that what's the word I'm looking for? Okay. Rebecca Salem. Salem, like I was saying before freaking recording was rude and cut me off. I was saying Salem actually had her plan at start of Beacon Academy, giving Ironwood, what's the word I'm looking for? The thing that Mars always has.
Paranoid.
Starts Ironwood paranoid from there, showing how easily his army can be defeated at Beacon Academy by the smallest of glitch. So technically, Salem had many years to plan everything out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that makes her the most intelligent person ever.
She is pretty smart.
And of course, the thing too about her being immortal, so she can basically take as many risks as she wants. Okay. Next one is Talk. In my opinion, Talk is like technically one of my favorite villains. I think she was a pretty good villain.
She was decent.
The backstory of the Grimm Reaper.
I feel like she was a decent villain. Like, she appeared in that flashback.
You think she's a decent villain?
I think she's a decent villain.
Decent villain? Yeah, I can see that. But she's definitely one of the top for decent. Okay, so like I was saying, we had Talk, a decent villain. Okay, let's move on to Torchwick.
Oh boy.
Torchwick, I'm probably gonna get a lot of crap on face by this, but Torchwick definitely, in my opinion, was a good villain. I don't think he was an amazing villain. I just think he was a good villain.
Yeah, he was an amazing character, pretty good villain.
Yeah, if we're going off characters, definitely amazing. But
yeah,
I just think that Neo had better at being a villain than technically Torchwick.
I'd put Torchwick in between Raven and Mercury.
Yeah, that's true. Tyrion, amazing villain. Let's not even talk about that. We're moving on.
Moving on.
Okay, the Hound. I think the Hound pretty good villain.
He was pretty good, yeah.
Especially like, that one line though.
Get the girl.
Man, and then, oh man, that was just an amazing scene.
Yeah. Hope you can edit these 3 parts together.
Yeah, I probably can. I'll probably be editing it tomorrow before the session.
I mean, all you have to do is find a way to put these 3 videos, like, side by side in the same file, and you'll be good.
Hmm.
Don't know how difficult that is, but
I do have editing software for that I use for my
wonderful,
theory videos.
wonderful. All right,
Okay,
Bernal.
for now, yeah.
She needed some work, in my opinion.
Needed more work? Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like she needed some work. She was
I
high. She
somewhat
was
agree
higher
with that.
than she was higher than Junior and the Macalite twins.
I thought she was a decent villain to me.
She just didn't. I mean, she just didn't have like that much of a really grab on. She didn't have much of a character, in my opinion. She didn't have that much of a much character to her, and as like all she was a villain. Like the character, like if a character is all they are is a villain, I will take
Hmm.
into account their character as well for this, just because then like we can't judge them as anything else.
Yeah, I guess that is true.
She
I
didn't
just
have
kind of went
much
with
of a character.
yeah. I kind of went with decent character, my decent villain in my opinion, because like with her ability on fighting at Haven Academy, tricking Cinder and thinking she was the Supreme Maiden, tricking mostly everyone actually,
Mm.
and being loyal to Raven, and even doing the most thing, even trying to kill the main group characters.
Yeah. She only really got the one up on Weiss, but that's because once again,
Hmm.
they do her dirty.
Not anymore. Now they switch sides to Jean.
Oh yeah, they did. Oh, they did. They definitely did.
Okay, next one is Vine. He was decent,
Vine was decent.
and he's under, in my opinion, under White Fang Lieutenant.
Mm, he had more. He had a lot more than the lieutenant did.
Okay. Winter, I think she was a good villain
I think
until
Winter
she
was a
became the
pretty good
bully maid.
villain. Winter was
She,
I did like Winter's a pretty good villain just due to like she had a similar sense of like that conflicted villain that Marrow did,
mhm.
but I did like more like you saw more struggle and pain between her like following the orders.
Yeah. I just wish that we had a rematch between Crow and her.
Yeah.
Well, these are the rankings of
Our
the
personal opinion.
yes, our personal opinion, and mostly accurate because we know our stuff.